Welcome, Fantasizers, to another episode of Your Big Fat Fantasy. I'm Nicholas Logan.
I'm Anthony Bravo, and we're here in my beautiful Granada Hills home.
Yeah, and this is episode 16 of the YouTube channel. Just going to start off talking, but we did some, I know there's been some big
Dynasty
trades.
Big trades in Dynasty.
In the NFL. We did some big trades in our Dynasty leagues, so we'll start it off with the trades that we did, and then we'll finish the show with the NFL trades. So, starting with me, I did a trade this week. As soon as Breece Hall went out, I was disappointed. And I have a team that I believe that can win it all this year. So
very sad injury.
Yeah, it's very sad. Not only for Breece Hall owners, but if you're a fan of the NFL, and if, was so explosive. I was telling my friend, I don't remember I've ever seen anyone with that explosiveness coming out of as a rookie. Every time he was out there getting 60-yard plays almost every week, it seemed like 60+ yards every play. I think 3 weeks in a row he had plays of 60+ yards.
Yeah, he was so talented, so quick, so crazy.
Taking over the backfield. The Jets were winning games. You knew it was almost like you knew the ball was going to him and that he was still gonna run it all over you. And it wasn't even that hard of a hit. It was almost like a non-contact injury, almost you can say. That he's out for the year. So I went and I traded Breece Hall sadly away. I drafted him first in the rookie draft this last year, and but I did get some return. I got Leonard Fournette, and I got his backup Rachaad White, and I was able to get a first-round pick for next year. And I also, with Breece Hall, I also gave away Keontae Ingram. I had to give away someone because I was getting Rachaad White back, so I had to drop someone, and Keontae Ingram was probably my least, valued asset on my team at the moment. But yeah, just heartbreaking. I'm happy that I got Fournette out of it, and if anything happens to Fournette, like I said, I have Rachaad White. And if Fournette, is not in Tampa Bay next year, he's gonna get older. You've seen what Rachaad White can do when Fournette's out. He was one game Fournette was missed a couple snaps because he was injured, and Rachaad White was able to take in and had a decent game for a rookie. So, and like I said, I got a 23 pick for next year that I could use for a running back or a receiver. And
mid to late.
Yeah, and I have 6 draft picks for next year. So, I mean, I can probably – it's going to be hard to find a guy like Breece Hall, but you never know.
Yeah, it was a terrible injury, man. He didn't even really look like he was in pain when he went down. And then, right away, we just heard the reports that it was a serious injury.
Yeah,
so
they called him out for the remainder of the game right away.
Yeah, so very sad. And so he made a pretty big trade to help boost his team for this year. So my team is not doing so well. I was 2-4 going into this week, so I got a good win. I was the highest scoring team this week, but my RB2 is Antonio Gibson, and I have Elijah Mitchell on IR, which is completely irrelevant because CMC is the main guy in San Francisco right now. So, with that being said, I sent over Brandon Cooks and Austin Eckler to my bro Joe Shiesty for Drake London, 23 second-round pick, and 224 first-round picks. So, my plan is, my running backs completely just missed this year, besides Austin Eckler, and Brandon Cooks hasn't really been doing anything. So, I went out and I traded for the top receiver in the draft this year, Drake London, and I'm hoping to hit on some late round running backs in this upcoming 2023 draft, and I have 3 2024 first round picks, so the 2024 draft is mine for the taking, and I'm just gonna keep it cool for a couple years until that draft time, man.
Yeah. And like you said, you traded Joe Austin Eckler. He's the one that I traded Breece Hall to him. So
yeah,
he gave me Fournette and Rachaad in the 23. So
he gained a young back that he has to wait for a little bit, but in return he got Austin Eckler, the number one fantasy scorer.
Probably one of the strongest, most fit guys in the NFL. Guy that could probably last for another 2-3 years even. So
yeah.
But with that being said, that's the thing. That's what I like about Dynasty. It's not like in redrafts where a guy like Breece Hall goes out and you just drop him to your waivers because he has no more fantasy value. That's why I like Dynasty. Breece Hall has a lot of fantasy value. He's only 21 years old, young.
Yeah,
you see what he can do when he's healthy. So
hopefully he returns to that form, and I think he will.
Yeah, and even in a redraft, you have Austin Eckler, and the team around you isn't that good. It's hard. You almost have to keep him on your team because people think it's collusion if you trade a guy like that. But if you're getting draft picks in return, people can see your plan. So. But yeah, that's the little trades we did this week. We're gonna jump into now our picks.
Picks, yeah.
Yeah, Bravo will start it off with our hits and misses from week 7.
Yeah, what did you go this week? You went.
I went 3. It was like borderline. I want to say I went 3-2, but you can say I went 2-3 or 2-1. I guess I don't know. I'm just gonna say 3-2.
Okay, yeah. I
No,
went.
yeah.
I'll just go and say I went 2-3. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll start with my hits. I'm gonna go with Kenneth Walker. Destroyed my Los Angeles Chargers defense like I thought he would. 23 carries, 168 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Like we've been saying on the show, this Kenneth Walker guy, he's taken the NFL by a storm, and he's taken fantasy football by a storm. Yeah, this guy was just tearing apart my defense that was just not there not there this week. It was very sad to see. But
Very explosive for sure.
the only good thing that came out of this game was that I told everyone that Kenneth Walker was gonna have a good game this week. So
he has 4 touchdowns his last 3 games, looking good. I know I'm happy to have him in redraft league right now. Like, he looks good. He looks really good. The future back for sure.
Yeah.
Seattle, and he's now the favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year after Brees Hall went down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw it, but FanDuel they gave back like everyone's money. Whoever like betted on Brees Hall to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so they gave
That's
everyone's
cool,
money
man.
back. So if I got the money back, I'm throwing it on Kenneth Walker.
yeah.
Kenneth Walker looks like the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
28.8 fantasy points. I forgot to mention that he had 28.8
Probably
fantasy
the highest
points.
scoring running back after Eckler. And they're
Yeah.
probably in the same. That was just a running back game
Yeah.
on Sunday. So
Was number 6. I
28
believe.
was 6 for running backs. Oh, yeah.
No, Kenneth Walker was number 6, highest score.
Overall, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Highest score overall, yeah.
Nice. And then I'm gonna start with he started with his hits. I'm gonna start with my misses. I had 2 misses. Kenyon Drake. We're just gonna keep calling him Week 6 Kenyon Drake because obviously that looks like will be his best fantasy week of the season. He did it like I said last year. He did it 2 years ago. Week 6 has been Kenyon Drake's best fantasy week of the whole season, and Gus Edwards came in and took all of those Kenyon Drake touches, took over, had 18.6 fantasy points, 16 carries for 66 yards, and 2 TDs, averaged 4.13 yards per carry. So Gus Edwards was the favorite to be the backup to J.K. Dobbins this year. Obviously, they both started injured, but now that J.K. Dobbins is once again injured, Gus Edwards in his first game back took over. Kenyon Drake was unheard of that game, only 0.5 fantasy points at 11 carries for 5 yards.
I hope you didn't spend any fab on Kenyon Drake.
Yeah,
or at least a lot of fab.
Yeah, I know. I think I only spent like 10 or 15.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people were disappointed with them.
Yeah, so and that's my worst. Like last week, I had Jeff Wilson. He put up 0.5, and then his starting job got taken. I picked Kenyon Drake, and he put up 0.5, and now his job got taken. So back-to-back misses for a couple running backs from me. But yeah, Kenyon Drake, my first miss.
And I'm going to go into my second hit. Going to be Gerald Everett. 5 receptions out of 9 targets, 63 receiving yards, and 11.3 PPR points. And usually I wouldn't even really call this a hit, but tight ends they're more valued when they score PPR points.
Mm-hmm.
So and Gerald Everett is the number 7 tight end on the year. And this performance is helping him keep up the number 7 ranking. So
yeah. And then I'll go into my next one. It's gonna be Leonard Fournette. Another bad game for the Bucks. Wasn't a good game for Fournette. Only 4.6 fantasy points, 8 carries for 19 yards, 2.38 yards per carry. Didn't see anything in the passing game. Only 2 receptions on 3 targets for 7 yards. And he played 60% of the snaps, which was his season low, so wasn't on the field. I know 60% is a lot for a lot of running backs, but for a guy who's getting more than 60 a game is concerning, I guess, just for that game, Leonard Fournette. I know I just traded for him, but yeah, his worst output of the season.
Tragic game for that whole Buccaneers team.
Yeah.
But hopefully they pick it back up.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings me to my misses. I'm going to go with my first miss, Amari Cooper. 3 receptions for 4 targets, 74 yards, and 10.4 PPR points. I expected a bigger game out of Amari Cooper. And Jacoby Brissett didn't even throw a touchdown this game. So not much fantasy value when your quarterback can't even really throw you a touchdown.
Especially when you're the wide receiver 1 over there.
Yeah. But Still, I believe in the top 15. So Amari Cooper, a nice solid wide receiver 3 flex play.
Yeah, for sure. Even wide receiver 2, I would say.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my first, I would say, hit. Jalen Waddle, 12.8 fantasy points. I know it's not a lot, but he still finished as the wide receiver 26 in week 7. So if you started him, he was borderline wide receiver 2 flex play. So that's why I kind of put him in the hit category. Still had 88 yards on 4 catches, but no touchdowns. This is now his 5th straight game without a touchdown. Hasn't scored a touchdown since week 2. Even with Tua back, couldn't find the end zone. So my first, I would say hit, I guess, Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, Tua's first game back. Hopefully they get that chemistry going. My second miss will be Michael Pittman. 6 receptions out of 9 targets, 58 receiving yards, but only 9.8 PPR points. And the main reason he didn't go off is because his boy Paris Campbell.
Fumble, I think, too. Didn't he hit a fumble loss?
Oh, yeah, and a fumble loss. So it would have been probably 10.8 PPR points if he didn't get that. So his boy Paris Campbell went off, though, for 10 receptions, 12 targets, 70 receiving yards, 23 PPR points. Also scored a touchdown. So that's probably the main reason why I wasn't finding Pittman, was because he was just hitting Paris Campbell the whole time.
Yeah, another big waiver pickup from this last week. He has back-to-back pretty good games, Paris Campbell.
Yeah. Big waiver claim, and also a big waiver claim, Sam Ellinger, because Matt Ryan just lost that starting job.
We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little later.
But moving on to my second hit, T. Higgins. If you looked at what went down in that game, T. Higgins was probably the lowest scoring fantasy guy. I mean, if you look, Jamar Chase had 33 points in week 7. Tyler Boyd had 29.5 fantasy points. Jamar Chase was the wide receiver 1 in week 7. Tyler Boyd, the wide receiver 2. But T. Higgins finished as the wide receiver 22. So he finished as, a wide receiver 2 or flex play if you had T. Higgins. So, yeah, I know he wasn't getting the points like Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd did last game, but he still was able to put up 14.3 points, 5 receptions for 93 yards, and in a game where Burrow threw for almost 500 yards, had 481 yards. T. Higgins had 93 of them, so not a bad game for Higgins by any means, but Chase and Boyd I should have picked either Boyd or Chase over T. Higgins, but it worked out. He still had a decent game.
Yeah. And my last miss, the most humiliating miss, Bucs defense. 1 point.
That's why we don't pick defenses.
This is why we don't pick defenses. Just got stomped on by the Carolina Panthers. I don't even know what happened in this game, man. I was just expecting the Bucs to finally click, and they're not clicking. And I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's Tom Brady's personal problems. I don't know if they're just. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's Tom Brady. I don't know if it's the defense. I don't know.
Could be a lot of things, definitely. Who knows?
Mike Evans is dropping routine balls out there.
Yeah, that was a big drop. That was like almost like a game-changing play, like one of those,
Yeah.
Like it could be a whole different game if he makes that catch. They score a touchdown there. The momentum's on their side.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate to
a classic Brady drive.
Yeah, but I hate sports to be like, oh, it's that one play ruined it. But sometimes it is that one play that just changes the whole game for both teams.
It could either be the play that changes the whole game or the play that shows you how this whole game has been going.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the play that showed you.
So,
yeah.
Wasn't a game for the Bucs. Again, another bad loss for them. But going into my last pick, my third miss, my third hit, he was my best hit from this week, had his best game of the season, Terry McLaurin. Scary Terry, 18.30 fantasy points, finished as the wide receiver 11 in week 7. It's the first time this year he's finished as a top wide receiver 1. Had 5 catches on 8 targets for 73 yards, and his first touchdown since week 1. So like we said, Taylor Heineke was going to come in and he was going to look for Terry McLaurin. That's exactly what he did. Had a big late fourth quarter catch that kind of sealed the game for Washington. But yeah, it looked good with Taylor Heineke there. His best game of the season, Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, and we talked that they had a good chemistry together. So yeah, Heineke to McLaurin gonna be a nice little stack.
Yeah, so buy low on McLaurin right now, possibly.
Yeah, possibly.
But yeah, that will do it for our picks from week 7. Our hits and misses. He went 2 for 3. I went 3 for 2. You can say. But now moving on to what we were kind of talking about and the Tom Brady issues you were saying, Matt Ryan issues, Aaron Rodgers having issues. I I guess you can just kind of call this next part of the show like just the old men QBs ain't it, you know. Father Time eventually just wins out, you know, like it just happens, and it's happening this year more than ever. So you have Tom Brady right now, age 45, the oldest player right now in the NFL. Not having a bad year. He's still QB12, so he's overall quarterback one right now in fantasy. But he only has 105.08 fantasy points this year, which is almost like a career low through 7 games for Tom Brady. He has 198 completions on 296 passing attempts, 1,942 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, only 1 interception, but not doing what Tom Brady usually does. If you look at his last 5, we're going to go back the last 5 years. Last year, he was the quarterback 1 through the first 7 weeks of the season, had 179.7 fantasy points. In 2020, he was the quarterback 6 with 155.10 fantasy points. 2019, he was the quarterback 9, 135.98 fantasy points. 2018 was the QB 10 with 135.14 fantasy points, and 2017 QB 3 with 144.92 fantasy points. And then 2016, that's when I only went back 5 years because 2016 was the year where he got suspended the first 4 games, so I didn't count 2016. I just went back the last 5 years. But all those years he finished within the top 10, and even now he's the QB 12, but it's 30 points lower than what he's done the last 5 years. So, yeah. And they're not looking good. They just lost back-to-back games to teams in last place. They lost week 6 to the Steelers, who were 1-4 at the time. They just lost last week to the Panthers, who were 2-4 at the time. So Bucks right now 3-4. They are tied for first in the NFC South. But not where the Bucks definitely should have won those last. They can be sitting right now 5-2 right now. Easily. But
just let Deontay Foreman run all over you. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, Deontay Foreman, DJ Moore had his best game. And, Tom Brady just not looking that great to start this season. Right now, they don't even have a wide receiver 1 on that team. You expect Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to be there. Right now, Mike Evans is wide receiver 15. Chris Godwin's missed some games. Julio Jones missed some games. So it's just the Bucks are just kind of lost without Tom Brady. Almost looking like he maybe should have just retired, but we'll see. We'll see if he can turn it around and finish better than the QB 12. And then we're gonna go to the other guy, Aaron Rodgers. Right now, 38 years old. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback 17 right now. Only 96.78 fantasy points this year. 163 completions on 244 passing attempts. 1,597 yards. 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Already 3 interceptions. Doesn't seem like a lot, but last year he had 4 total interceptions the whole year in 17 games. So he's on pace to get almost close to like 9-10 interceptions right now. Obviously, he lost his main weapon in Devontae Adams. Another team that's not producing a wide receiver 1. I think Alan Lazard's right now the wide receiver 25 or 26, so just outside the wide receiver 2. Dobbs has had some bad drops recently. Christian Watson been injured. Sammy Watkins out. So Aaron Rodgers is just another guy where they even said his body language just doesn't look like he wants to be there, and he's having his worst game through his first 7 games in the last 5 years too. Last year he was the QB 9 in 2020. In 2019 he was the QB 7, and then in 2018 and 2017 he was the QB 11 both those years. And even in 2017, Aaron Rodgers he came out early in week 6 game. He got injured that game, only played 13% of the snaps, and then he missed the week 7 game. And even though he technically missed 2 games almost, pretty much, only played like 5 and a fourth of a game, less than that, and he still had more fantasy points those first 7 weeks than he has this year. He had 107.70 fantasy points in 2017, and now he's at 96.78. So he missed 2 games, and he still put up 11 more points than what he's doing this year. Aaron Rodgers not looking good. The Packers aren't looking good. They just lost 3 straight games. Lost to the Giants, the Jets, and the Commanders. They're 3-4, tied for second in the NFC North right now. Usually those are teams that Aaron Rodgers is beating up on. The Giants and the Jets easily beating on those New York teams, beating on a Washington Commanders team with a backup quarterback. And if you look even at the Bucks are 3-4, the Packers are 3-4. If they're in any other division, they're 3rd, 4th place right now. But they're lucky. The Bucks are lucky they're in the NFC South because they're tied for first, and the Packers are lucky they're in the NFC North and they're tied for second. Because any other division, if you put them in, they are the 3rd, 4th place team. And then my last old quarterback that's not doing so well is going to be Matt Ryan. And we already know he just lost his starting job. People thought it was because he was injured, but they came out and said, no, he's not injured. We're just going to sit him for the rest of the year. We're going to go with the young guy, Sam Ehlinger. It was a big waiver claim for me. And both of our dynasty leagues, I was able to get him in both. Spent almost all my fab on him. I'm sure it happened in a lot of other dynasty leagues. Sam Ehlinger, they said they're going to start him.
Dude outbid me by $2 for Sam Ehlinger.
I just had enough to outbid
I was
Bravo,
pissed.
so
I was so mad.
So I got him, and I had to get him.
it.
I had Matt Ryan in that league, so I had to get Sam Ehlinger. Else I would only be down to 2 quarterbacks, and then I had to really just spend all of it. Sometimes you just got to do it. And if it doesn't work out, at least I still have Matt Ryan as I guess now the backup. So we'll see. Right now, Matt Ryan looks like he's gonna finish the season worse than the QB20. He's the QB20 right now, only 93.42 fantasy points. Has thrown 9 interceptions this year and 9 touchdowns, so that's why they sit him. He has the weapons. The offensive line's good. He has one of the better receivers in the league, one of the best running backs in the league, and still throwing just way too many interceptions and just not looking good. I mean, if you look, his career high is 17 interceptions. That was in 2013. That was almost a decade ago. And if he was still the starting quarterback, he'd be on pace to break 17 interceptions. He'd be on pace to have 22 interceptions this year.
Yeah, it's crazy that they just benched him like that. I feel like they kind of just had this planned out, kind of.
Yeah, they probably told him like, "Hey, we're only gonna give you this many." And
if
we're not in first, I mean, they're not. They're even right now. They're 3-3-1 right now. They're second in the AFC South, but
they could be so much more better. I feel like so much more better.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. I mean, Matt Ryan has always been like a top 12 quarterback in fantasy football. I looked at his last 5 years. He's always finished as, a top 12. Even he was the QB20 last year at this point of the season, but he had 111 fantasy points this year on 93. So he's 20 points below what he was last year. And even in 2017, he was the QB25 through the first 7 weeks, and he had 83 fantasy points to the 93, so 10 less.
Yeah, and I feel like his supporting cast is so much more better than what he
was
had
last year. Yeah, like he has a better running back, better line, better weapons in the receiving room. They obviously, Alec Pierce has looked good. Paris Campbell, we talked about, has looked.
Michael Pittman.
He's been healthy. Michael Pittman.
It's a solid wide receiver room.
Yeah, but right now, he's just
not making it work.
And Rodgers and Brady, none of these guys just. If you have one of these old quarterbacks, it's just time probably to let him go, and especially in Dynasty. Like someone just traded Tom Brady for Aaron Rodgers, and both those guys probably could be out the league by next year. The guy that got
Tom Brady got
Matt
pick.
Ryan could be out the league next year, and these are teams that people expected to win their division steadily. The Packers should definitely have a better record. The Bucks, the Colts, but the way their quarterbacks have played, and obviously the Colts have already cut the ties with Matt Ryan, it seems like, for the rest of the year. So.
Yeah, it might be time to cut ties with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers if they're on your dynasty team.
Yeah, go pick up Jordan Love or Kyle Trask or someone. Just start stashing these guys for the future.
Yeah, and Jordan Love could be that man. They're stashing Jordan Love, so
yeah, they drafted him a couple years ago pretty high.
Yeah.
So.
He could be that present that you're just waiting to open. He just goes off for your fantasy team.
Yeah, and the only relevant fantasy player has been the running backs on all these teams. I mean, I know Jonathan Taylor's missed some games, but he didn't look too bad last game. Aaron Jones has looked great.
Yeah.
Fournette's looked good.
Solid. Yeah.
So, but none of these guys are producing top 12 wide receivers. No wide receiver ones on any of these teams.
Yeah. And that's going to bring us to the end of the old man segment. Brings me to my fantasy stars of week 7. I'm just going to go with the Three Musketeers, the Bengals. You got Joe Burrow, highest fantasy score of week 7 at 39.24 fantasy points, at 3 touchdowns, 481 passing yards. And he was just shredding the Falcons defense, man. It was sad to see. 34 completions for 42 attempts. Like you told me, he was throwing in the fourth quarter, not really.
They were up by really 15-20. He was still throwing the ball.
Yeah, not really having any care in the world how much he's up by. So, Joe Burrow, that dude. Also that dude, Jamar Chase, 8 receptions, 11 targets for 2 touchdowns and 130 yards. Was actually the number 4 fantasy scorer of week 7. And his boy Tyler Boyd, 8 receptions, 9 targets, 155 receiving yards for 1 touchdown. 29.5 PPR points, was the number 5 fantasy score of the week. So it's crazy, man. When you can have 3 players on the same team that are in the top 5 in total fantasy scores of the week, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's very, very crazy. It's gonna bring me to my fourth star. It's gonna be Austin Eckler. Had 31 rushing yards, 1 rushing TD on only 9 rushing attempts, and 100% catch rate. Had 12 receptions on 12 targets, 96 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. 36.7 PPR points for the week. Number 2 fantasy scorer for the week. And yeah, man, this dude went off. Another running back that went off, Kenneth Walker. 23 carries, 168 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. We've been very high on Kenneth Walker in the show, and he proved it, being the number 6 fantasy scorer of the week. And my last fantasy star is going to be not my boy, I don't really like him, but Josh Jacobs. 143 rushing yards, had a massive 3 rushing touchdowns, and had a little cute 3 receptions for 12 receiving yards. But a big 36.5 PPR points, was the number 3 highest fantasy score. So, yeah, if you have these guys, man, only person I would probably sell right now high is Tyler Boyd. But other than that, stash these guys.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs looking like, I forgot the stat, but he's the only running back to have like 100-plus yards and like multiple touchdowns in 3 straight. Or I think he's the only running back to put up 30-plus fantasy points in 3 straight weeks since Derrick Henry did it a couple years ago and Adrian Peterson did it like 10 years ago or something. In the last 10 years, it's only been them 3. So if you're in the same conversation with Derrick Henry and Adrian Peterson, you know,
that's some elite company.
Yeah, it's elite company. So Josh Jacobs looking like.
And I remember we were all scared about Zamir White. We were all thinking Josh Jacobs wasn't going to be the back in Las Vegas, and he's that guy. He's that man.
And he's a free agent this coming year. So, and he's still young. He's only 24 years old.
I mean, they might ink him or they might let him walk. We'll see. Keep your eye out on that if you have him in Dynasty.
He's in trade rumors right now, so who knows?
Who knows?
But that's what we're going to talk about next is just some trades. We talked about the CMC trade last week. Another pretty big trade happened as soon as Breece Hall went down. I'm sure Michael Carter fantasy owners, whether they want to admit it or not, were pretty happy that they had Michael Carter on their team, thinking that he was going to come in, step in, and be the back. But right away, the Jets, they went and they traded for James Robinson.
Yeah. And the trade makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Now Travis Etienne can take over for Jacksonville.
And James Robinson got 0 carries last game.
So he's going to go and take over there in New York. You're not going to just trade for a guy to have him, like we said, with the CMC trade. You're not going to trade guys, especially in midseason, if you're not going to be using these guys. So
yeah.
I know one of our friends in one of our league has James Robinson and Travis Etienne, and now both of those running backs just gain tremendous value. Just in the snap of a tweet, you know what I mean? Like just like that, Travis Etienne stock goes up, James Robinson stock goes up. I have Travis Etienne in one league. I'm super happy about that. But yeah, James Robinson. I mean, they got a downgrade. Obviously, he's not what Breece Hall is.
They could even run like a little 2-back committee with Michael Carter and James Robinson.
I'm sure they probably will. Because they'll probably use James Robinson more to be like that runner, and then Michael Carter more in the passing game. I know we thought that was gonna be the key with Breece Hall and Michael Carter, but Breece Hall was just every down back. So. But if you look at James Robinson on the Jets, they're getting a guy who has 340 rushing yards this year, 3 touchdowns, 4.2 yards per carry. Obviously, an upgrade from Michael Carter, who's averaging 3.5 yards per carry, only 228 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But like you said, it might be a little committee over there. Yeah. Michael Carter should be the main receiving back. He has 20 catches for 151 yards. James Robinson only 9 catches for 46 yards. So, yeah, I mean, he wasn't obviously the main receiving back over there. It was Travis Etienne even early on the year, even when they were kind of – they were really splitting the backfield, but Travis Etienne was getting most of the receiving role over there. But obviously, like I said, they downgraded, obviously, from Breece Hall. There's not a lot of Breece Halls in the NFL. If you look, James Robinson, he has 1 more carry than Breece Hall. He has 81 carries. Breece Hall has 80 carries. But Breece Hall has 463 yards to James Robinson's 340. And Breece Hall has 1 more touchdown, 218 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown, 19 receptions. So, yeah, they're losing a big key of that offense, a big player, big superstar. But, they it's definitely an upgrade to Michael Carter if you're going with James Robinson there. So
Yeah, for sure.
so just take a look on that backfield. There's also some other trade rumors that I just want to talk about. The trade deadline is next Tuesday, and there's some names that are popping up. I guess one of the main ones right now is Kareem Hunt. Right now, looks like the Browns are more than likely to trade him. Nick Chubb is just taking over the backfield and
Makes
just
sense.
Looks
They don't
like
use
the
Hunt.
Superstar. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't even use Hunt. They use him a little. I think he had a touchdown last game.
Yeah.
But really not really getting much other than maybe a couple carries a game.
Yeah.
And
Not using him, I mean, like the way they should.
yeah, the way they did
He's
last
like way
year.
too. He's way too talented.
Yeah, the way
to
they
be,
did the last 2 years, they
Yeah.
haven't used him the way they when they first brought him in. You know.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people they kind of were like iffy on taking Nick Chubb because Kareem Hunt was in that backfield. It was kind of hard to
Yeah.
get Nick Chubb early in drafts, but if you did, I'm sure it was a steal because now Nick Chubb has been the main back. If they get rid of Kareem Hunt, then obviously it's his backfield even more. Kareem Hunt, I know the Chiefs have been one of the main names.
Reunion.
Yeah, so it might be a reunion. I know we know what happened with Kareem Hunt and his legal issues, and the Chiefs cut ties with him, but they might bring him back.
Yeah.
He's a receiving back. They've used Clyde Edwards a lot in that role, and Clyde Edwards just lost his starting role to Isaiah Pacheco, and even last game with Pacheco being the main back didn't look all that good. I mean,
Nope.
Clyde Edwards still kind of outperformed him, had a touchdown, and they kind of split the carries even so. If you bring in a guy like Kareem Hunt, like you said, with the talent of Kareem Hunt, he can easily take over that backfield. He's familiar with Andy Reid's offense already,
Yeah.
so, just look for that. I know people are saying the Eagles are kind of looking for a running back. I'm not sure how accurate that is. They do have Miles Sanders, who's having one of his best career year this year, and he's still, I think, 25, 26 years old, so, still decently young.
And they just traded. Eagles just traded for defensive tackle Robert Quinn.
Yeah,
too,
so they might be trying to upgrade.
Bolster their
it doesn't hurt
offense
to upgrade
and defense.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to upgrade the running back. Now I know they traded for JIG a few years ago, but even when they traded for him, it was still LeGarrette Blount, I believe, who was still the main back in that backfield. But other guys, we talk about Josh Jacobs. He's probably staying now with the way he's been playing. Jamal Williams coming up in trade rumors. David Montgomery, Melvin Gordon. So a lot of guys that are kind of not losing their kind of that backfield right now. Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, they said is going to be back this week, so maybe they're going to try to ship Williams and get some draft picks. Lions not looking like they're going to do anything this year. They started off good.
10.
Yeah, so David Montgomery, they're saying that they're going to use Khalil Herbert more, and it's his last year of his contract, so the Bears won't re-sign him.
Yeah,
I would bet a lot of money
him.
on that.
Yeah.
They're not going to re-sign him. They're going to stay with Khalil Herbert, so they can get something in return for a guy that they're not going to even bring back next year. Why not go out and get a 6th-round pick or 5th-round pick or something for Montgomery?
Yeah,
Melvin Gordon now look like he's losing his job. I know Mike Boone just hit the IR, but even so, Latavius Murray looks like he's going to be even getting more touches or splitting the backfield. Melvin Gordon, he's come up in trade rumors. And then some wide receivers to look out for. Chase Claypool, I know he came up early in the preseason in trade rumors, but Steelers were asking for a lot, but maybe his value's gone down a bit, and teams can go out and get Chase Claypool. Teams like the Packers, I know like your Chargers might need a wide receiver. You're going to talk about Mike Williams' injury. Keenan Allen's been banged up. They kind of need like a second, third guy over there. Seahawks, DK Metcalf's a little banged up. They don't really have a third guy. If you can get like if the Steelers aren't asking for too much, I can see a team's trading for Chase Claypool, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler, two guys that the people have hit the Broncos for these two guys. We'll see. Jerry Jeudy is pretty young. KJ Hamler, pretty young. We'll see what they can do. Obviously, it's a big week this week for the Broncos. They lose. I can see them maybe just trying to start over and bring in some pieces.
Yeah.
But Jerry Jeudy's still young. But Jerry Jeudy, the lowest in the NFL of any first-round wide receiver since 2020 with his catch percentage. Only a 51.1% catch percentage this season, 52.8% in his career. So maybe he just needs a new home when he could turn around why, the Broncos drafted him in the first round. And then another guy we talked about, Brandon Cooks earlier, that you traded. I know he's came up in trade rumors. Maybe he goes back to the Patriots, a team that needs a receiver, a veteran guy. That's another guy familiar with an offense that he's been with. Brandon Cooks has been on a lot of teams.
So many teams.
So, I mean,
like 8+.
Yeah, so probably, but he might find a new home this year. I know Elijah Moore, teams have called the Jets for them, but they already said they're not trading Elijah Moore, but you never know. Some team gives them the right piece that they can't say no to, then you can see it. I mean, they just traded for James Robinson. The Jets are obviously trying to
They're
win.
trying to
They're not going to
yeah.
want to keep a player around that's not there to win, even though I know the interview Elijah Moore said he just cares about the wins. But we all know that was kind of,
Yeah.
bogus because at the end of the day, he did
He
request
didn't
a
even get
trade.
targeted that game.
Yeah, so and last game they benched him for personal reasons or whatever. So he might be on his way out. Another guy like Cam Akers might be on his way out. So keep your eye on these trade rumors. Start looking. If you have some of these guys, start really reading up on these reports, like a Montgomery owner, if you're a Claypool owner, Jerry Jeudy, anything Brandon Cook. Start looking to move these guys. Kareem Hunt, try to go trade for him right now. I believe he's probably the one that out of all these guys you mentioned probably has the most trade value.
Yeah.
Especially in like a fantasy football format. Go trade Kareem Hunt.
And a trade in the NFL I feel like it could either be really good for the player or it could be really bad for the player. So
it's obviously
you got to be smart in this kind of situation.
Yeah, but for fantasy, just start looking at those reports. Start looking. Don't be too concerned yet. You have a few days to think about it. You have the weekend to think about it. But come Tuesday, a lot of these guys could be on the move.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just going to bring me to the big injuries that we have seen this week, starting with Breece Hall injury. James Robinson traded to New York Jets. They could be running a committee with James Robinson and Michael Carter. Both could see their fantasy value rise tremendously. Mike Williams will miss at least 4 weeks due to a high ankle sprain. But the Chargers are on a bye this week, so it will only be 3 games missed. So maybe a nice alternative for you could be like a Josh Palmer or a Gerald Everett is going to see a lot of target increase. And Mike Williams was actually the number 20th highest PPR scorer in Week 7. So going to be a big injury for us. But just look to plan ahead. Look to get your alternatives. Mark Andrews, also questionable, didn't practice all week. You definitely want to keep your eye out on that.
Especially because they play a Thursday night game.
Yeah, and so most likely he will not play, I think. Also, another guy I think will not play, Ezekiel Elliott. Missed practice. I believe you told me they already ruled him out. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be Tony Pollard's backfield. Mm-hmm. And, the guys that missed practice but I think might play is going to be DK Metcalf. He hasn't practiced all week, but I don't know. I just have a good feeling about DK.
Yeah, but the injury's not as serious as they thought.
But yeah, you definitely want to keep your eye out on that. They could be playing it safe. They could still, rule him out. Debo has been missing practice. Not really sure if the Niners are going to choose to play him or they're going to choose to keep it safe. So you want to keep your eye out on that too. And Russell Wilson, they said he was doing
hip thrust or
high leg
knees or whatever. Something in the airplane on the way.
Pretty much threw everyone under the bus while all his teammates were sleeping. He was pretty much saying that he was exercising, and now he's a limited participant in practice. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see how that London game turns out for Russell Wilson. But
I'm sure he plays.
Yeah,
I'm sure all those guys play. I feel like DK and Debo play just because they're just freak athletes.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're
taking a rest.
They
put me in, coach.
They can wake up Sunday morning and be ready to go. And Russell Wilson, they paid him all that money and traded away all those picks to get him there. So not to miss games.
Yeah. So for sure.
We'll see, but that'll move us on to Thursday night picks. I'll start it off here with my first pick. I know I picked them last week, but since it is a Thursday night game, we are limited. So I'm going to pick him again. I don't think I'm going to miss on him 2 times in a row, especially a guy of this caliber, Leonard Fournette, facing a Baltimore defense, allowing 23.01 fantasy points per game. So I think Fournette has a bounce-back game against the Ravens. Like I said, there's no way I miss him again back-to-back weeks. So hopefully, and I just traded for him, so I'm hoping a big game. I'm excited to watch him play tomorrow.
Yeah, you got a big bank on Fournette this week. And since you're going with Fournette against Ravens defense, I'm going with his quarterback, Tom Brady, against Ravens defense. This Ravens defense hasn't been good against wide receivers this season, so I have a good feeling about Brady. Hopefully this can just be the game where he picks it back up because he definitely needs one of those games.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna pick his main weapon, Mike Evans. Coming off one of his best games with Tom Brady, had 15 targets on Sunday against the Panthers, which was his most ever with Tom Brady. So even with his bad ankle, Tom Brady was still looking for him. Had a season high 9 catches for 96 yards. And right now he's facing a Baltimore defense that's allowing 38.59 fantasy points to wide receivers, sixth worst in the NFL. So I think Mike Evans gonna have another big game, and they said his ankle's healthy. He's gonna be playing, so look for Mike Evans.
Look for Mike Evans. Another guy you want to look for. He is questionable, but if he plays, I think he will have a good game. Is Rashad Bateman. Only had 8.2 points last week, but I feel like they're just trying to ease him in. Hopefully, with him being questionable and taking some time off practice, hopefully he gets going. And if he's able to make this Thursday night game, hopefully he goes off.
Yeah, for sure. And then my last pick is gonna be Lamar Jackson. Gonna go against the Buccaneers defense that got torched by the third string quarterback PJ Walker. Had 177 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Not that great game, but great game for a backup quarterback. Lamar Jackson's definitely 100 steps above PJ Walker. And Lamar Jackson is due for a big game. If you look at his first 3 weeks of the season, he had 102.26 fantasy points those first 3 weeks. That was good for 34.09 points per game.
Sheesh.
And that was in 3 games. He's had less the last 4 games. So weeks 4, 5, 6, and 7, he's combined for 54.62 fantasy points, only 13.66 points per game. So he started hot. Now he's cooled off. I think he's going to get hot again in the Thursday night primetime game. Lamar Jackson, definitely going to show you guys why he's was an early MVP favorite.
For sure. Always high on Lamar Jackson. Another guy I'm actually pretty high on. He's gonna be my little sleeper. It's gonna be Cade Otton, tight end for the Buccaneers. He actually had the second most receiving yards on the team last week, and he's had two games, or not multiple, but 2 games of 10 plus PPR points. So
Yeah.
Cade Otton, he could be the new Gronk.
Yeah. And Tom Brady loves those tight ends.
Yeah. And
yeah,
he's 6'5", just like Gronk, so be hitting those big boys.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like pick up Cade Otton too if you're
he's definitely
need a
on the
streamer
waivers.
tight end or something. So
For sure.
But yeah, that will conclude our Thursday night picks. Conclude our episode.
Yeah, we're still doing a jersey giveaway. Still at 64 subscribers, so get us up there, and we're
trying to grind it out, and I know sometimes it's hard, I'm sure, for us because we're like. We're not getting the same amount of views, and the subscribers stay the same. But just keep watching us, keep supporting us, keep sharing us.
We're gonna
try to get that exposure. We're working hard over here, and you know how much it means to us when we get like your guys' feedback and just you guys viewing the videos and watching the videos all the way through and subscribing, commenting, all that, sharing us. That means like a lot to us. So thank you guys. But we're all in it together. We're your big fat fantasy. You guys are the Fantasizers, and
we're gonna be uploading for you consistently every week.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be uploading on Apple Podcasts and Spotify podcasts,
which
consistently.
We have already.
Yeah. So it's gonna be
TikToks and everything.
It's gonna be every week this entire NFL season. Where we might even, even though this is a football thing, we might even try to go into baseball in the future.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to keep this channel going year round.
Yeah,
year round.
We have a big episode for this weekend. We're gonna do a Halloween special. So I'm excited for it. So you guys should be excited. It's gonna be a good little
dress up.
Yeah, we're gonna dress up. We'll make it. We'll surprise you guys. It's gonna be like a little Halloween themed episode related to fantasy football. So that'll be Saturday. That video will be up. So look for that. Start your Halloween weekends off right. And thanks for watching, guys. And we'll see you Saturday.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you guys.